On today's show, we have Joe Parker, who is truly a brother to me. Joe is a former dentist who turned baker and owns a very, very popular gluten-free bakery in North Carolina, in a little rural town in North Carolina, right where we grew up, actually. And he and his husband now own JP's Pastry, which is nationwide, super, super popular. And they have 3 beautiful sons, triplets, if you can imagine. And so that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, about his experiences being a gay parent to triplets here in the rural South. So I'm excited to get into this great conversation with my dear friend, Joe Parker. Folks, we have on the show today Joe Parker, one of my favorite people in the world. Joe, you have been a brother to me, truly like my younger brother. And one of the things that I just want to mention right up front and name right up front is that your presence in my life has been so healing for me for so many reasons. The person who you are in general has been such a light in really dark times in my life. We've known each other since we were children. We became essentially like brother and sister pretty much as adults, I think, even more so than when we were kids. And for me, having lost my brothers, when I was 8 years old, having you and your brother come into my life during that period of time was just so healing for me. And I cherish you and I love you, and I just appreciate your being here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mona. You know how I feel about you. You're the only Mona in the world in my life.
I feel the exact same way. I have really vivid memories of a phone call from you. Gosh, I don't remember how many years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And we were talking on the phone, and without even being really overt about it, you came out to me as gay without even making it like a thing. It was just like we were talking. You're like, hey, I came out to my family and this and that, as if I already knew. And I felt so deeply honored that it was that natural for you. At that time, little did you know that you would eventually one day become a parent. And so your life has changed
No clue.
drastically since then. So talk to us about the journey from first of all, coming out, right, to where
Right.
you are today. And I'm not even going to name how many children you have. I'm going to let you do that. To where we are right now. Walk us through that.
I think everyone says this, like you always know, right? But I think you have to accept it yourself, right? There's always coming out to yourself before you confirm to other people who you are, right? So my journey was completely different as far as coming out. I had girlfriends. I'm not a gold star gay. So there's gold star gays have never had sex with a woman before.
You had been with women, so you were not a gold star gay. Yeah.
I have been. Yes, I had. Yes, because it was the pressures of growing up in a small town, Eastern North Carolina, right? That, this is what you're supposed to do. Did it feel wrong? No, it didn't feel wrong at the time, but it didn't feel pure for me. And I can remember actually, I had just started dental school at the time, and I took a spring break and I went over to, actually it was between semesters, I think. I went to England for a good 10-day break. And that was one of my first experiences with a man over there. And I was like, something's not right. If I'm doing this, I cannot stay with the girlfriend I had at the time. So within a week of returning, I broke up with her. And I think it crushed her because I didn't tell her why. Right? Because I really wasn't sure of myself at the time. I was like, but I knew what I was doing. I was not going to go down this path where I was going to ruin a woman's life by marrying her, having kids, and being with men on the side. I was like, I can't do this to someone. It doesn't feel like it's honest to myself either. Right? So, and then I just kind of lay low for a little bit. You get online, you start meeting people. I knew I was not going to date anybody at all. I mean, we're talking 2004. My thing was I had not told anyone, right? And there was another gay guy in my class that was openly gay. And I kind of became friends with him a little bit. He was super nice. He was the first person I ever came out to. We still talk to this day. He's amazing. He is an amazing husband. They've been together longer than I have with my husband, um, actually, and they are expecting. So I'm pretty excited for them right now. But anyway, I came out to him. He's like, it's going to be okay. Everything is fine. And just gave me the biggest hug. And it just felt like the realest hug, but the main thing happened when I was befriended editor at large, Andre Leon Talley from Vogue. And he was in Durham doing he was at the Duke Diet and Fitness Center. I ran into him at the airport and I was like, oh my, and he's giant. He's 6'7". He was, and God rest his soul, he passed away a couple years ago. And I said, hey, you're Andre Leon Talley, what are you doing here? And he was like, how do you know who I am? And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm followed fashion my whole life. I mean, this is, you're kind of like a fashion god. So, I ran into him twice in the same week. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a leap. He told me he was staying at the Washington Duke. So I wrote him a letter of who I was, what I was struggling with. And I went to drop it off at the hotel and said, just, drop this letter off in his room. He walks out into the lobby. He was like, oh, it's you again. And so, I was like, I'd written you a letter just so how amazing it is. You came from Durham and you went to New York and you went to the top of what you did in life, and so immediately he's like, come have lunch with me. So I'm skipping class, having lunch with him. This goes on and on. I mean,
Wow.
over a few weeks, I mean, every other day, he's like, hey, we're going to go bowling today because this is going to be on Oprah, sign a release for me. So, I would go do this with him. I said, hey, look, I'm getting my white coat for my doctorate this Friday. Would you like to come? And he came.
Wow.
And everyone's laughing. A celebrity guest comes in. He's draped in, floor-length Louis Vuitton fur, and he comes to the event, and it's hilarious. So anyway, he's like, tell me more about your life. I said, look, I need to come out and I don't want to do it here. I know too many people. My family knows too many people. He's like, that is not a problem. I will put you in New York. So literally, I mean, like within a week, he said, look, I'm co-chairing the Martha Graham Gala. I want you to come with me. And his co-chair, the funny part was Melania Trump. So I, flew to New York, and I have an uncle that lives in the Upper East Side. And so I was staying with him. My parents had no idea, So I went with him to the event, rode in the limo with him, and Donald Trump was with us too. It was really interesting. You got to think 2005, right? Different Donald Trump than today. And, I got to meet all these amazing celebrities and designers. And, literally he's like, all right, you're going to come back in 2 weeks to do interviews at these designers. So after going around, I think I've interviewed with Vera Wang. I interviewed with Narciso Rodriguez. I ended up with Francisco Costa at Calvin Klein. So he was like, you got to find the place to stay. So I came back up, had dinner with him and Oscar de la Renta at the time, which was an amazing experience, and found a place to stay. And I'm telling you, day one of that summer in New York, I was in Chelsea at the bars and living it up. I had a couple fraternity brothers in New York that were on Wall Street that I, talked to before I came up there. I said, guys, I just need some help. I'm coming up to come out. And they were like, finally,
Yeah.
But I'm like, if I go out by myself, let me text you in the morning, make sure that I'm back home and I'm alive, right? And it was, the city was different than it is now, but it was an unbelievable experience. I'm glad I came back. He really, at the end of the summer, is when I came out to my parents. And he was like, look, I really encourage you to finish your degree. He's like, I never finished my master's at Brown, and I really wish I had have. So I'm glad I came back to school, obviously, and finished my degree. Kept in touch with him several times. He came down to visit. But just one of those angels, I feel like, that really was there to help me facilitate the process of coming out, because I did not feel, in your terms, your themes, Mona, that I belonged in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Day one in New York, I knew I was there and what I was there to do. And I was the most comfortable in my skin ever. Coming out wasn't always easy. I lost 4 or 5 really close friends. You learn now that they really weren't your friends.
Right, of course.
Because, they didn't love and accept you. My dad hugged me day one, said, I love you no matter what. I'm here for you. I don't want to get too emotional. On the other hand, my mom, it took her a good 18 months to come around.
Yeah.
We didn't talk for over a year. It was sad. It was really, really sad. And now she's my biggest supporter. There's still a little slight scar, not a bruise, a little scar left from that experience. Um, it's hard to get past something like that when you feel shame and rejection from your parents. I have told myself I hope to never make my children feel like that, no matter what they turn into, no matter who they are. I never want to ostracize my kids away from me. I always want to let them know I am there for them and I'm going to support them no matter what they do and where they go. When they fall on their face, I'm going to be there. So, I mean, that's how you parent, right? You kind of take the things you liked from how you were raised and implement them into how you want to raise your kids,
Yeah, and hopefully they'll be better parents than
right?
we are. Just
Right.
hoping that it
We hope,
continues to
but
evolve. Yeah.
exactly. It was a scary time a little bit, I think, for gay men. Um, I was very protective in New York, with all the people I met. You just did, I mean, right back then there was no prep for HIV. I don't know how I got out of the city that year without catching anything, but I didn't, which was good. I mean, I was educated. I knew what to do, how to protect myself and how to, use protection. Um, and things just start to evolve. I mean, Grinder wasn't out yet for gay men. I graduated school. I moved to Raleigh. You know, and randomly, within a year of moving, I met my current husband. Again, not on Grinder, which was good. It wasn't really popular yet. So, because I think that really changed a lot of the whole gay social network
Yeah.
when that app became so big for
Yeah.
people. I kind of feel a little dated sometimes for not being on it, but I mean, we're happily married. We've been together 15 years, you know, married for 10. I don't know. It's definitely different. I never thought coming out I would ever be married and that I would ever have kids. Never thought it. Never thought it would be a possibility. And look where we are now. It was not. It wasn't legal. I was a very devout Catholic my whole life, right? And Iz and I, my husband Iskander, we call him Iz. He and I would go to mass every Sunday together, every Sunday for the first 3 years of our relationship. I mean, we didn't miss church. And then Amendment 1 came out, and the churches we were going to, the Catholic churches, were saying vote for Amendment 1. And he and I talked in depth. I mean, he went to a Catholic college. I mean, we talked in depth about it, and we just were so turned off. We were like, I don't want to go spend my time and my money with an organization that doesn't accept us. And so we stopped going to church.
Yeah.
Right? We just stopped doing something that we really enjoyed doing. Um, and I'm close to a few of the monsignors in the area in the diocese, and they've said, "Look, we've not been kind to your people. We haven't been." Um, and I appreciate their honesty about it. They still accept me for who I am. I'm not hiding it. It's not part of my level of acceptance. I mean, I'm at a point where this is me. Now, I wasn't like this even 10 years ago, you know, um, but this is me now. That was 2012 with Amendment 1. 2014, I was going back to pastry school in California for another class, and Iz came with me, and we slipped away, and we went to the courthouse and got married. Didn't tell a soul. And I got a funny story for you. Let me tell you how nervous I was. I am always on time. I am always early. It's been very hard marrying a Latino man because he's always late. Um, I was so nervous. I don't even know if you know this, Mona. I was so nervous the morning of that I overslept and we missed our flight
Oh, wow.
and we missed our appointment at the San Francisco courthouse.
Oh,
So we landed and we got on the next flight. We landed in San Francisco and literally hightailed it to an express window in San Jose.
no, I didn't know that.
No, so we drove up and it was like this. I remember this lady. It was an amazing African American woman named Vi. That was her name, Vi. And she married us at the express window. and it was just us, and it was hilarious. We had a rented a convertible, and so we were driving back, and that night we had dinner with one of my fraternity brothers who lives there and his girlfriend, who they're actually married now, and just to celebrate. We didn't have rings, we didn't have anything, we just wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that night I get a phone call or text actually from my best gay friend in Raleigh. He says, "Hey girl," he was like, "Your marriage is now legal in North Carolina." That day it was overturned in North Carolina for Amendment 1.
I still get goosebumps hearing that. That
Wow.
that you went and got married, and then within hours it became legal. That's amazing.
It was it really was. It was kind of, I mean, we look back, I think it's funny. We were kind of unprepared. I mean, we just didn't know what we were doing. We just knew like we wanted to be with each other.
Yeah.
So we came back. Is his family? He's a beautiful big Mexican family. They had a big dinner for us to kind of celebrate. They were so happy. Again, I wouldn't tell my family. I didn't want to share it with them.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like it was something they would accept. I waited till the right time. So let's flash forward to 2017. Okay. An attorney that we knew contacted us and said, "Hey guys, would you consider taking in a foster kid?" And so we were like, sure. So I was like, okay, this is the chance. We went home to my parents' house, and I'm like, "Guys, we have big news for you." And my mom's like, "What's going on?" And my dad's like, "Well, are you getting married?" I'm like, "No, that was like 3 years ago. We have a kid coming." And my mom's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, tomorrow in 24 hours. It was just really funny. But the whole wedding just marriage got swept under the rug because we had this child,
Yeah.
at 10 months old. Mona, you came over to help us. I mean, I remember you got us the high chair.
Yeah.
You did. We had this child for 6 months, and it was so sad for him to go back. I've not really seen my husband cry probably 4 or 5 times, and that one was rough. 2 weeks later, I came home from work, and he was in the living room, curled up in a ball, just crying his eyeballs out, just missing that kid. And I was like, we can make our own, right? So we don't have to go through these. We had a very judgmental, homophobic social worker. I will never forget her name because I think one day I have this Lifetime original movie after school special drama where this kid shows up on my doorstep and says, "You took me in at 10 months." And I'm going to say, "Yeah, this is the social worker that screwed your life up." So I don't wish anything bad on her. But when you look back on it, if I saw her today, I would thank that lady. As hard as it was, if she hadn't have done what she did, we would not have created what we created.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't really know why things hurt, but later you figure it out.
Yeah. And we love social workers. We love social workers.
Yes.
That particular situation was really, really, really rough because here you were, amazing, amazing parents. I saw you and Iz. You were model parents. Like I wanted to be a parent like that, And and I thought, gosh, if I screwed up already so badly, and you were amazing. And I know how attached you and Iz were to this beautiful, beautiful child and had such high hopes and such dreams for the future and visions for the future.
Right.
And that was devastating. And it was because of the homophobia that was a large part of it.
I will never forget the first social worker that came into the home to place the child with us. And when he said, "Guys, I have to hand you off to the next social worker for the home study, and I'm really sorry." And I looked at him and I said, "What do you mean you're sorry?" He said, I can't say much." I said, "Well, let me ask you this." I said, "Would this social worker march in a pride parade?" And he looked down and just kind of shook his head. I said, "Okay, well then he's going to go back. That's what's going to happen, But as sad as it was, it helped us, We started talking to adoption agencies that specialize in LGBTQ people, parent to be, and they said, most of them were like, "Look, you're going to tell the soon-to-be mother what they want to hear until they sign the papers." And I said, "No, I'm not going to start a kid's life off with a lie. I'm just not. I don't want to do that." Yeah, I don't think that's fair. That's not fair. when I told myself in 2004 in London that I was not going to lie anymore to myself, I'm not going to do that to my kids either or future kids. So we said, forget it. We're going to save up. And so we started saving and we started saving and started saving, and started looking at egg donors. And we said, we're going to make our own. So we did. We started going through all these profiles for egg donors and picking out one that we thought would be great and one that wouldn't. And we settled on one, and she came up to Raleigh. She donated her eggs the same day we donated our sperm, and created these little embryos. We didn't meet her. I saw her in the reception room. There was another gay couple there too, so I don't think she knew which one she was donating to, but and it was a gift. We created embryos. I took half the eggs. Is took the other half. We froze them. And that was it. We were like, okay, great. Let's start looking for surrogates. And that's a whole nother story. I mean, that took months. I mean, we went through several till we found one that we thought would be able to do this. We knew we wanted twins. We wanted to transfer 2 embryos. I do not recommend this. I don't recommend it either. Look what happened to us. So if you don't know this, our embryo split. We ended up with triplets. We have 3 beautiful boys. Albert, Alex, and Adrian. This is Auntie Mona.
3 triplets
to the boys.
Double Leos, by the way. They are double Leos.
Yes.
3 boys.
Double Leos.
Triplets, double Leos.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're just
July
as
28th.
calm and kind and loving as could be. How old are they? They're almost 5, right?
They're almost 5. Yes. They're very sweet boys. Yeah. It was just such a blessing. I mean, to looking back on it, it actually seems surreal that I went from alone, closeted, not knowing if I was going to have a fulfilled life, to a huge rich life. And I don't mean money, I mean love.
Lots of
from
love.
Lots of people.
And it all started, Joe, because when you were in London, you chose to have the courage to see who you are, right? To see yourself.
True.
And that starts the belonging journey in itself. It's like, I'm going to see who I am. And then this is what's so fascinating and amazing to me about you is you doubled down on that courage and embraced it. Mm-hmm. You didn't fight it. You're just like, nope, I'm going to embrace it. This is who I am. This is who I am. And then you tripled down, because you have something with triplets here. You tripled down and you said, I'm going to celebrate it and honor who I am and honor who the people are around me by not continuing in this relationship with a person who's a woman, with a person who I know is not aligned with my identity.
I know me doing what I did for me helped her. She's married. She has a daughter. I'm very happy for her.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would have happened that way if I had not just said, no, I'm not going to. It's not fair to ruin someone's life.
And also what happens from a belonging lens is that, you're with this person who really felt a deep sense of belonging with you and interpersonally, and also with your family.
Right.
Your family loved this person,
yes.
And there was talk of marriage and that kind of, there was definitely talk of long-term and forever, ever, I think was in the minds of many people. And so, sometimes what happens when we are reclaiming our sense of self and when we are belonging back to ourselves again is that it can disrupt the belonging journey for somebody else.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
Some people might not be okay with that. They might reject us in some way or might feel like rejection. And that is something that keeps so many people from really seeing, embracing, and celebrating self because of that. You chose to look at it in a different way of we're going to align with truth. And I'm offering you the opportunity to accept that or not. But from there, it's up to you. I'm not going to create or perpetuate a relationship or even a system of relationships, really, that are rooted in untruth.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair. There was somebody in my hometown that had 4 kids and was well known in my hometown. And he came out, I think, when his last kid was maybe a senior, and it was like a big debacle in our town. And it was all these bad things said about this guy. And this guy was the nicest man ever. I mean, I hadn't seen him in years, but I just remember he was always so nice
Yeah.
to my family. And I'm like, I just saw the hate, on him because he had been married and had kids. And here I'm thinking, wow, now he gets to be himself, and live his life. So there's so many perspectives to look at. I just, knew what for me, what I wanted and what I wanted for my life.
Yeah.
Right. Did I ever think it would turn into what I have now? Probably not. But it's my story and it's where I am. And yeah, I do feel that I belong where I am right now in my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's something most people should ask themselves. Look at your life, look at your work, look at your family, look at your personal self. Are you where you need to be? And do you feel like you are in your moment? And you don't always feel that way. You don't. And sometimes you've got to tell yourself, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be,
Yeah.
and not ignore it. And I love when you say embrace, because a lot of it is embracing.
Yeah, it really is.
Embracing the true essence of I've said this before, of your soul, of like who you are. And when you do that, everyone around you likes you.
And some people don't, and then they just disappear.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they will
Bye.
go, yeah,
You know?
they just disappear oftentimes. Sometimes not, though, with
Right.
family members. And that can be really, really challenging. And I know that that's
Hmm.
been a journey for you as well.
It has.
And also, I'm curious for where you are now in terms of your identities, of like really central identities of being gay, obviously, being a gay man. Also, I think like being a Lebanese gay man as well. Also, being a parent of triplets. Whoa,
Right.
right? How did those identities come together and work well together? And what are some spaces where they can be at odds sometimes?
When I flash back to 2005, summer in New York, right? I'm coming out. I know day one where I'm supposed to be, right? I'm in the gay neighborhoods, I'm all over Chelsea at the gay bars. I felt like this is me. This is where I belong. This is what I should be doing, right? Um, there's not a gay parent neighborhood in Raleigh, okay? I mean, there's just not. So you kind of have to like manifest it yourself. And, and meeting other parents, I think it's really interesting how a lot of straight parents and gay parents identify together, but there's always going to be, as a gay parent, things that we deal with that straight parents don't,
Mm-hmm.
right? I thought of you this past weekend, actually. We were at our beach house in Morehead City, Carteret County, Eastern North Carolina, extremely white. Okay, the neighbors across the street have 2 kids. One of them was turning 5. It was her birthday. They invited us because my kids play with their kids, when we go down to the beach, and we go down once a month, if not, twice a month. So they had a big tent set up. It was a really big party. And, of course, I dressed the kids up so they look really cute, and then Iz and I are kind of, in polos, and it's an outdoor party. So here we are walking across the street. And Iz says to me, he's like, we're the only people of color here. I'm like, yep, we sure are. I said, make the most of it and try to fit in, and the kids are cute and everyone's like looking at us. We're the only gay parents there,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think twice about it. I just started talking to the moms, to the dads. I'm like, I'm not going to make this weird. They invited us over. They really like my kids. They invited us to come back afterwards for an after party. Just no one else but our kids. I think we try to, I say, ingest some of the excitement from the kids for life, and the stares, the confusion in some of these straight parents' mind when they see us doesn't faze me. I think sometimes I feel it. Sometimes you walk into a restaurant and there's a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are looking at us. They always think the nanny is the mama,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel anymore that I have to explain. I don't have to say embryo split, you know, no, this is us, except that we're different, except that we don't fit your image of what a family should be. And this is it. I don't apologize for it anymore at all.
How'd you get to that place?
I don't have time to not be there. I mean, you got to think about it. I remember being at one of the kids' preschools, and the boys were putting their books in or their book bags in their locker, but one of the boys, Adrian, was behind me, and I knew he was behind me. I could sense him. And I called him out. I said, Adrian, that's not your locker. Let go of that bag. And the teacher's like, how did you know that kid's behind you? I said, because he's mine, and because I know him and I sense him. And I think when you can get into a different level of acceptance of who you are and who your family and what you've built, you don't really care about what people think or what the image is. I'm not gonna hide behind any type of stereotypical heteronormative stance. And I don't think we have time to. I think having three kids are running around, running our own businesses, we don't really have time to sit there and try to empathize or understand how somebody else feels about us.
It's really not even any of your business sometimes. It's like that's their
It
journey.
it's not. It's not. It's the judgment though, I think is what I have to pick and choose my battles. Sometimes moms look at two dads and think we can't do it. And
Oh,
I have felt that several times. I mean, Mona, you know me. I can almost out mom anybody with anything. I just, you know, but there's still, I think the kids are going to get judged. They're going to get it's going to get a little more difficult the older they get, and I hope this inner strength and confidence that I have can just love them and support them and let them know it's going to be okay. And you know what? We're going to figure a way out of how to make this work.
which is a way of celebrating yourselves as a
Exactly.
family, and
Exactly.
from the community standpoint of we
Right.
are one unit, we
We
come as a
are.
package deal, we are amazing, by the way, and we don't have to put up with shit,
We
that kind of
don't.
shit. Yeah,
Right.
don't have
Right.
to. And
No.
also, there's a luxury aspect to that too, right? It's such a privilege in terms of being able to or having an easier opportunity to have children when you're straight. There aren't as many hoops, right? And then
Right.
on the other hand, it's like if you're gay and you want to have kids, if you're a gay man specifically and you want to have kids, you have to have money. It's
Right.
like this twisted kind of thing
It
where
is.
it's like there's
Oh,
less privilege on the one hand, and then you have to have additional privilege in another area as far as financially in order to even
Mona,
have children.
it not even that. We had to take a 365 question multiple choice exam in a psychiatrist's office to even do this. Like, I mean, for me, it's like, are you kidding me? Like a 14-year-olds can go out and drink and make a baby, yet I've got to go through all of this. And we want kids, by the way. We're not,
Right.
we want to have kids. But yeah, the amount of things they make you go through for IVF for gay couples is unbelievable. It makes and most IVF is not even for gay couples. Most of it's for straight couples. Um, so, but you know what? We did. I grunted about it a few times with Iz. I would complain, and Iz is like, you know what, Joe, suck it up. Pretend this is one of those awful professors you had in dental school, and just do the work, and let's just get through it. And then look what we got. You know?
But even the process of going through that, I can only imagine, like from a global perspective, there could be that sense of isolation in terms of, oh, they're making it clear that I don't belong here and that I have to prove myself and prove my
Right.
worth and prove my
Right.
value and prove my capability in order to be here in this particular way
True.
where many other people don't have to do that.
I mean, like even within the gay community, I mean, we had reached out to a couple of other gay couples we knew that had done this. And some of them were actually non-responsive. Hey guys, we're trying to do this. Like any advice?
Mhm.
And I mean, so not even within our community, we didn't have 150% support.
Yeah.
But we it also makes you realize do you really need support from someone that doesn't want to be there for you? No, you
Yeah.
find your support, you seek it out, and you create your village. I mean, I had a few friends years ago that I thought were great. And, we were kind of socially friends. I had one particular friend in general that I remember he just stopped taking my calls and stopped, texting back. And I was like, okay, we were just friends. Like, what did I do? So one day we met for brunch and he said, look, man, I'm not trying to be rude or mean, but you just really have nothing to offer in our friendship.
Mm.
And I was like,
Ouch.
wow, in person at brunch. And I was like, that's harsh, you know. Um, I don't know that I mean, some things have happened like that, it just, and I'm not mad about it. It shapes who we are, but I mean, maybe there was some truth to that. Maybe like we were just in different places in our lives at the time, right?
Yeah. But you had other community. You had,
Yes.
right.
Yes. Several friends that I love and adore. I mean, gosh knows, I came out when I was 27.
Mhm.
Um, 30th birthday party, there was like 150 people there. It was a big, it was in Chapel Hill, this big restaurant we had rented out. I had a performer, photographers, all that. All of my fraternity brothers had come back in town. It was homecoming, and I had come out to them, so they were so excited to celebrate me. It was a wonderful experience. Um, but flash forward to 40. When I turned 40, there were 17 people at my birthday dinner. And, a friend of mine that was a senator back at my 30th birthday, he said, Joe, when you get older, your circle is going to get smaller and tighter. So it's weird how over 10 years it went down to just, 17 people, and it was a good experience. I loved it. One of my favorite chefs in the area did a 9-course meal for everybody, and it was just beautiful, but it was just a different experience, right? I still feel like not knowing who I was before 27, that I am still making up. I have this mental thing in my mind that I need 27 more years to fully be myself. So I feel like when I hit 54,
Mhm.
it will have been, I will have lived a true gay life because I will have spent just as much time out as I did in the closet.
Years that are lost of not being able to,
Be myself.
and nobody knows who they are fully when they're before
Right.
27 anyway, and even
Right.
at
Right. Of
27 for
course.
many people.
True.
But it's that specific aspect of self that that really is central in terms of a lot of like
Right.
developmental, like important developmental milestones, right? In terms of dating and first kisses and all those things. And
Right.
it's like
Right.
all of that
Absolutely.
is
Absolutely.
is experienced at a very different developmental stage in life. And so a first kiss with a man at 27 doesn't feel the same as it would at, 16 or whatever it is. It's
Right.
so many different experiences. And so I can imagine there's some sense of like almost arrested development in
Hmm.
terms of like, oh, but this feels like I'm 16, but I'm not in some ways, but I
Oh,
am in so many ways. In so many ways, I'm like 8,
right. Because when you come out, you go through puberty all over again. I mean,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
really, really, really do, because it's like all this new excitement. But I think being who I am and being gay, being a dad, being my culture Lebanese, right? And I'm married to a man from Mexico who was brilliant, right? I mean, I'm so happy with my story. I'm so happy being a multicultural family. There's always lots of food in our house, whether it's Mexican or it's Lebanese food. There's always just lots of culture. And I love that. I love that on birthdays. We are outside with a piñata, and the kids
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Even doesn't matter whose birthday it is now. Doesn't matter whose it is, there's always a piñata. And I love that. I mean it's the celebration and the love, it is interesting to watch the kids not understand race, They're 4 years old now. They don't understand anything. They just know people are people,
Mhm.
and they don't know hate yet. They haven't been taught that,
Mhm.
and I'm hoping that we can keep them shielded of it. I know it's going to come. I know they're going to have some heartache, but at this point, we just want them to be happy kids and to know that they're loved,
Mhm.
and, we do some of the gay dads get in the triangle. They'll get together and do some things sometimes, and we'll try to participate when we can. It's hard with three under 5 years old. Um, I
Oh
always have
yeah.
this joke that by the time I load up, three kids, a husband, and a nanny in the car, I need a cigarette, and I don't even smoke. Like, I mean, it's a lot. So, but yeah, I mean, there are gay dads, especially on social media too, and we all have a huge community that we all talk to each other, and we all help each other, and that feels so good that we're not the only ones out there going through this.
Just a shout out to some of the, because you've told me some resources before. So a shout out to some of the Instagram accounts that you follow that would be great resources for queer identifying parents.
Yes, Gays with Kids, we love them. Rosalind's amazing. Two Dads Worldwide, and they just so show so much love and so many parents that love. Same-sex parents. There's just so many out there. Rainbow families that just they're wonderful, and you can reach out to them with anything. They have these podcasts too where you can watch and actually listen, and they have question and answers at the end regarding how do gay men with kids actually maintain sexual closeness, because it's so hard once you have kids. And
Mhm.
we had we participated in one, and before, and it was amazing to just hear other dads go through that as well. I mean, you're really tired at the end of the day, but at the same time, you do want to make your spouse feel important. And it's how do you save energy for that spouse later, right? And it's something I think all couples deal with when you have kids.
Yeah.
But it's always great to know that there's other gay parents that are struggling through the same things you struggle through. So we've been really, really fortunate to have a lot of supportive people behind us.
Oh,
So,
you're so amazing, Joe. You're so
oh,
amazing.
no,
So,
Mona,
okay.
you are.
But I do want to know. So, what does belonging mean to you?
To me, belonging means no matter what your circumstance, where you are, you create a sense of yourself and a sense of respect for yourself in the environment you're placed in.
Mm.
So that is what belonging means to me, is that I respect who I am where I am, because it's so easy to disrespect yourself. And that
Yeah.
it really is. I'll give you a prime example. Yesterday I called the Umstead, and I said, "Hey guys, and I know the chef there. He's super sweet. I mean, it's always nice to see him when I go in. But I said, guys, I want to make reservations for Father's Day brunch. Are you doing a special Father's Day?" And they were like, "Well, no, we just do that for Mother's Day." I was like, "Well, are we doing brunch on Sundays?" He said, "Yeah, we do brunch on Sunday." I said, "Well, listen, we want to come for brunch to celebrate Father's Day." I said, "It's two dads. We have triplets." And then they got all excited. And they were like, "Oh my goodness." I said, "Yeah, so we would really like to come celebrate Father's Day." They said, "Well, maybe I'll mention it and we'll come up with something special." I was like, "That would be wonderful to honor dads out there that really want to celebrate with their kids." But I took that moment, right, to make myself belong, because
Just like,
sometimes if you don't take that opportunity, you won't feel like you do.
and what I heard in that is belonging is self respect and
Yes,
taking up space and claiming your spot in the world because, and
100%.
telling yourself, I belong here.
Right. Because the first thing you can do is run, and you can't. You can't run from things. Life won't
You
let
can,
you.
but you're going to feel really isolated.
Right.
Yeah. And so
Right.
we got to run back to ourselves first in order to feel that connection within. And
You
that's
sure
really
do.
one of the most central things that we can do for ourselves in terms of claiming our own belonging.
Right.
That's
It
it. I
is.
love you, Joe. Thank you
I love
so
you too,
much. That
Mona.
was
You're the
beautiful.
best.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. All of the show notes and links can be found on my website at drmonanour.com. That's drmonanour.com. Throughout most episodes, you'll hear me referring to the belonging model that I developed, which is represented by a belonging life map that helps you explore areas in your life where you feel more connection and areas where you might feel more isolation. And you can get a free copy of your own belonging life map on my website. Again, that's drmonanour.com. If you like the Belonging Reimagined podcast, please subscribe and consider leaving us a review. That can help more folks find us and keep more episodes coming. Until next time, I'm Dr. Mona. You're right where you belong.